Give me a second, I gotta start a party so that way people in game chat, so I can't hear those fuckers. This is all my fault.
Capture the objective.
I'm just waiting for Seth right now, because he really wants to learn about the guy I'm right now specific, of which is Rasputin. And I'll be talking a lot about him and referencing to a song about him that was actually, after I learned the history, once I actually listened to it, it is extremely accurate, and I will go over that later on in this video. But the intermission basically is just going to be us waiting for Seth listening to NCS. I don't know if you guys can hear it, but just in case. Yeah. Pretty sure it won't drown out my voice. If it does, well then who's the fuck? I don't think you really want to hear it anyways. No. Go for it, team. Oh fuck. Alright. I can see us. It takes me back to a time back when life was the simplest thing ever. And grade 6 is the time of my life, man. If anyone's watching it in grade 6, please cherish it. It's the greatest time of your life, I guarantee it. You don't, depending on, like, you most likely won't get that much homework. There's not that much shit to stress about, and you like just, I don't know, this just takes me back then, because back when I was in grade 6, whenever I finished my work on my laptop, I would either secretly or ask the teacher if I can go on fucking Roblox, and I would go and play Roblox like Zombie Tycoon or Speedrun 4, the original Speedrun 4. Not like the very first one, but like the previous update before it got bad. And I beat it like 3 times before, man. It was the shit, man. I loved it. And this music could always play, especially. And those were the only 2 things on Roblox I ever played, because the other things were either just straight up lies and weren't what they were advertised as being, like the mini games in it, or everything else was garbage and shitty with 0 effort, or I didn't understand it and it was all, or it would all cost Robux. And Zombie Tycoon was just that, like, it was what I was looking for. I could just walk right in, and it didn't save every time, which kind of sucked, but it was also amazing because you could run out of that content and pretty quickly. Like, you can you can unlock everything in one sitting. You know, what's great is that every time you close that tab, it's all back to nothing, and you start from the ground up, which is amazing. And you're trying to text people within, like, in-game chat. You're trying to talk to them. And, you know, you can create alliances or create straight up enemies, and every time you see each other, you kill each other. This is the greatest time, man. Simpler times, man. Simpler times. Of course, cherish your childhood, but grade 6, man, pay special attention to it and enjoy it. Like grade 5 and 6, but mainly 6 because you're on the top of the food chain. Like, no one fucked with 6th graders. 6th graders were like their shit, you know. Like, they were gods. They were directly underneath teachers, bro. Like, no one fucked with 6th graders. And anytime they do, man, the 6th grader gang comes out of nowhere and fucks them up. Pony boy. But okay, that book, stop. That book, I don't like that shit. That book was okay. What's it called? The Outsiders? I honestly, you're about to assassinate me. It's not a good book. I don't like it. I understand the appeal and why people could like it. It's clear. It's unfair for me to say that I can't see why people like why it's just a shit book. That's just blatant, straight up wrong. Even though I just said it, I'm a hypocrite. I personally did not like the book. I don't think it's a good book. But for me to, like, not actually give it enough thought is not really fair. And even just the 10 seconds of thought I gave it just now, it's a good book to certain people. Like, I can see why they would like it. It just doesn't appeal to me. And that is why I did not enjoy it. Like, I liked some parts, but, like, the names were just annoying more than anything. And it was really long, and I don't know, I just didn't really like it. Not just because it's a book, it's also a movie, but like, it's just, I just prefer movies or whatever, but like, I don't know, I just don't like it. Maus, M-A-U-S, is a great Nazi mouse book. It's literally about Nazis and Jewish people and shit, except they're literally all mice. That's or mouse or rats, whatever. No, they're mice. Yeah. Oh, Seth is here. Okay. Never history. That's about Rasputin. So I will reference to the song a lot because after learning all this history about Rasputin, I then like learned that that song is super accurate. My sources are Oversimplified and Simple History, I believe they're called. Obviously, go watch those guys. Those guys are way better at teaching history than me. Let me actually double check if that's right. Let me see. Simple History Rasputin. Yeah, okay. So, Oversimplified and Simple History. Go subscribe to both of them. They're awesome. Especially Oversimplified. I don't mean to shit on. I don't mean to. I don't mean to diss you, Simple History. You guys are amazing. I watch you guys a lot. But Oversimplified is just really funny. Like, he's funny. You guys aren't, but like, it's not like you guys try to. Anyways, you guys are just pure business. You know what I mean? Like, all serious, which is great. I love that. But Oversimplified is really simple and easy to understand. So is yours. But just, I don't know. I just really fucking love Oversimplified. He's funny. Animation style's great. His voice is pretty fucking hilarious. Anyways, so okay, so Rasputin was a like wizard, I guess you could say, who was roaming around, and he looked homeless. He was known to have extremely pale. Oh shit, have extremely pale. The sun is a deadly loser. Oh shit. But bruh, I'm in a house. So anyways, so Rasputin was basically like a wizard he was known for having extremely pale skin, a long black beard. The boys wore trashy clothes. And he loved sex, especially. Like, he would go to a lot of sex parties, and he was considered a love machine, I guess you'd say, to a lot, because he had sex a lot. And according to his wizard, according to a couple sources outside, like I'm talking about the other sources besides Oversimplified and Simple History. I'm talking about those guys' sources, of which I don't know. But their sources are so my sources are Oversimplified and Simple History, and their sources are whatever. I don't know. I'm just gonna go play some zombies. It's more chill. It's more, I don't know, because I feel like I get what I deserve. You know what I mean? Like I get what I just get what I work for. You know what? Fuck off. Eat a peen. And Seth, actually, him being a love machine, I got that from the song. Because guess what? Billet. That song talks about. Okay, so I'll explain a bit more about it. So I'm gonna actually pull that song up. So Rasputin was like a wizard guy. You didn't even think I'd go that fast, Seth, but you didn't, bugger. So Rasputin was, yeah, he loved to have sex, and according to some sources, he would sometimes hypnotize women to have sex with him. And he was also, there's also sources that say that he had, this is the punk version stuff. There was some sources that say that he actually hypnotized women to have sex with him, and he also had healing powers with his wizard magic, whatever. He used magic to heal and hypnotize people. And the Russian Tsar, which was basically the Russian king, there used to be a hierarchy, like the king, queen, all that shit. And wait, Seth, do you hear? Yeah, can you hear this stuff? Tell me in chat. Anyway, so since he could hypnotize women to have sex with them and shit, and have healing powers, the Russian Tsar, the royal family's king, the Russian's king, his son was very sick, and the finest doctors in Russia couldn't do anything. And also, keep in mind, his kid was extremely allergic to like everything. The Russian Tsar actually had a group of doctors and nurses and paramedics and shit following his son everywhere, like literally everywhere he went, every second, every minute, every hour of that kid's life. After they realized that how allergic to everything that kid was, they had to have like they had to have paramedics and I guess paramedics, doctors, nurses, all that shit, constantly watching this kid, because even too much water or some crap drops of water from like a plant or something would be enough to cause an allergic reaction, which could be lethal. Like this kid was crazy allergic to everything. It was like literally everything. It was insane. It was crazy. And he was also, because of that, he was also extremely sensitive to these diseases. Like the flu could have killed this kid. It was crazy. How allergic to everything this kid was, and how sensitive his immune system was. And they got the Russian Tsar. Him and his family got desperate. They didn't know what to do. They didn't know who to turn to. No medicine or doctor in all of Russia could have helped that kid. He was fucked. But then, considering that they were desperate, they would obviously try everything, and they could try everything because, you know, they're the royal family of Russia. They have the money and power and influence to make that shit happen. So what they did was they reached out far and wide, and they found a wizard. That they heard stories of a wizard or whatever that would heal people with magical powers. And apparently, the Russian Tsar called the Rasputin over, and Rasputin put a spell on this kid or whatever. He just did some wizard stuff, and that kid apparently got well. Okay. And apparently that kid got better. That kid was completely healed after that wizard came. All doctors and all medicine, all logic out the window, because none of that shit could help. A wizard comes along and helps the Russian Tsar's kid. Guess what? Guess who's the new Russian Tsar, the new royal family's best friend? Rasputin. And they loved him so much because they saved his kid, and they let him live in the royal palace, the Russian royal family's house. They welcomed a poor wizard that could hypnotize people and let that poor guy and live in the royal family's house as if he was another family member. And because they liked him so much as well, he also had a lot of influence over the Russian Tsar. So whenever they were making decisions, let's say the Russian Tsar wanted to lower taxes, but Rasputin wanted to make taxes higher, then the Russian Tsar would most likely go with what Rasputin says because he has a lot of influence. And talk about it in this song, if I can find it. Listen to this. What they're saying there is that this guy's greed for power, due to his extreme influence over the Russian Tsar, the whole Russian country, eventually, they started to know about it, and a lot of people hated him, and they wanted him dead, because he had so much influence, and they kept making decisions that they didn't want. And the Russian Tsar was heavily influenced by Rasputin, and the whole country saw that, and no one liked them. No, he didn't hypnotize them. They just honestly liked them because, um, he typically hypnotized women to have sex with them. But regardless, he's not gonna. Like they just love them because he saved his son, and also like he saved their fucking kid. Like, are you gonna be like, okay, I hate you now, go away because you saved my child's life? Like, no, you're gonna thank that guy. I guess they were a bit overly generous. Like, I don't know, maybe give this guy a bunch of food if he's poor as fuck or whatever, but regardless, they let him live with him as if he was another family member. But he would have he would start parties in the royal families, in the royal house, like the palace. He would often go to brothels, like, which is basically it's basically a building that a bunch of it's all like a whorehouse. You go there and you go have sex with the women. There's no like strip dancing or whatever. It's just straight up sex. That's a brothel. They just make women work in a building where guys walk in to have sex. That's literally it. That's literally a brothel. That's it. Nothing more. And he was reportedly going there, going to these places, constantly having sex, constantly. That's why they say in the song Russia's greatest love machine, because he was known for having a lot of sex, an excessive amount.
The doors don't normally behave like this.
Let's see if I can find it here. Here, listen. To Moscow chicks, he was such a lovely tale because he had sex with a lot of women.
I heard rumors of the research that transpired after my departure towards Holla, the gateway to hell. Looks like Omega Group.
Lover of the Russian Queen. That's another thing. There was rumors that he was having an affair, that the Russian Tsar's wife was having an affair with Rasputin behind the Tsar's back. And either he hypnotized her. I can't remember if he either hypnotized her or she just loved him more because I don't know. I can't remember. Anyways, long story short, I don't know what caused her to love him. I don't know if he hypnotized her or just because he saved their kid. I have no idea. But they did have an affair. That's why the song says "Ra Ra Rasputin, lover of the Russian Queen," because the Russian Queen was supposedly having an affair with Rasputin. Russia's greatest love machine because he had a lot of sex and he was well known for having a lot of sex. A lot. Like, it's crazy. And lover of the Russian Queen because he had sex with he was supposedly had an affair with the Russian Queen. Shame how it carried on because he died due to an assassination. So this is probably the juiciest part of his story. So Rasputin, a lot of people hated him and they wanted him dead, and so did these military officers and ambassadors, shit like that. I know for a fact like 2 military officers wanted him dead, just the same as everyone else. And eventually they're like, "Yo, we gotta do something about this Putin guy." They're like, Rasputin guy, and they're like, "Okay, we'll assassinate him." So they set up a dinner in like the cellar or some shit of the palace, the deepest part of the palace. Set up a dinner for him, and they put poison in everything, like cyanide. And this guy had like a whole meal of cyanide. Was still alive. He had 3 glasses of wine filled with cyanide, and the guy was still alive. This guy had like a liter of cyanide in his drink and ate a crap ton of poison. This guy ate and drank poison for several minutes and survived. Like nothing, he didn't cough. He was just horking his food down. Nothing happened. There's no cough. There's no drowsy. Nothing. He was unfazed by this cyanide. He was immune. Nothing happened to him. You wouldn't notice if there was cyanide in it or not. And they noticed that, bruh, this guy's eating a lot of fucking poison. What do we do now? So they shot him twice in the chest. They shot him twice in the chest. And then the guy goes up because they had like a party or some shit to go to. And then when the party was over, they were gonna come back and dispose of the body. But when one of the officers went down there, one of the officers went down there, where Rasputin's body was gone. It was off of he killed him dead on the ground. And then when the officer leaves, not a police officer, a military officer, the officer comes back and the body is gone. Like a fucking horror movie. The body was gone. He had no idea where it was. And then Rasputin got up and attacked one of the officers. The officer fought him off. And then he ran outside as Rasputin chased him, where the other officer was waiting, and he had a gun on him. He had a gun on him, and he saw him, and he was like, shoot him, shoot him. Yeah. I just got $25. Okay. So, anyways, Rasputin probably one of my, it's not my number one, but it's probably one of my favorite Russian history like stories because this guy's a beast. And it doesn't end there. Once the officer let him outside, where the other officer was waiting, Blackbeard was shot. You mean Rasputin? He was shot up 3 times. He was shot 3 times. Rasputin. Oh no, no. Oh, the pirate. Give me a sec. But Rasputin was shot 2 times in the chest and 1 time in the head when he got outside. And then they put him in a bag and they threw him over the Russian River. And some sources say that Rasputin was still squirming around in that bag while he was being thrown in the ocean and the river right in front of the Russian royal palace. You know what that would mean? That would mean that this guy drank like liters and 8 liters of fucking cyanide, got shot in the chest, got beaten up a bit because of the fight, and then got shot in the head twice in the chest, 3 bullet holes, a bunch of cyanide, a couple of bruises from the fight, and the guy was still squirming around in a bag, and he died under the water. And then when the Russian Tsar found him, he was super sad, and I think he arrested those officers and had them killed. How many times did Blackbeard get shot? Even after that, Blackbeard kept fighting. By the end, he had been shot 5 times and stabbed more than 20 before he died of blood loss. In his final moments, he was reloading his gun, determined to keep shooting no matter how many times they shot him. Holy shit. Wow. Anyways, yeah, that's the story about Rasputin, and the song talks an unbelievable amount about him, and I never knew that this song actually talked about him this much and how historically accurate it really was. Because only after learning all this stuff, I realized that this song is stupid accurate. Russia's greatest, the lover of the Rasputin, the lover of the Russian queen, because he had an affair with the Russian queen. Russia's greatest love machine, because he was known for having a lot of sex. Anyways, Rasputin was a lover of the Russian queen.
Strike team. Report. What the hell just happened? It appears our strike team went on a little trip. Systems show they have now returned from the other side.
Breathing and lusting for power because he was extremely influential over the Russian Tsar's decisions, and Rasputin knew that. And either the Russian Tsar would refuse to admit it, or was just in a denial, whatever. But they say that because he was the lover of the Russian queen, Russia's greatest love machine, his greed and lusting for power was once getting revealed to the whole world. Everyone in Russia saw that he was hungry for power because he was, oh yeah, it's true. And also, because everyone knew that he was influential. So he carried on, yeah, because probably carried him down to that river and killed him. Anyways, the song, once, like, after you learn this stuff, you'll never hear the song the same again. Because, like, the lover of the Russian queen, I guarantee you, considering how you told me you didn't know anything that much, like, little to nothing about Rasputin, now when you listen to the song again, you'll be like, holy shit, this song is so accurate. put some poison into his line because they poisoned him. He drank it all and stand up all fine. They didn't quit, they wanted his head. Until they shot him until he was dead. They shot, poisoned him. He did it. I don't know, I think he's under the blanket with Nino. They shot him, they poisoned him, they what's it called? He had sex with the Russian queen. He had a lot of sex. Russia's great. He's crazy how accurate the song is. Yeah, oversimplified is hilarious. It's great. I can't stress that. That's hilarious. Oversimplified did a video on this. He also go watch Simple History's one as well. They're great too. What else do you want me to teach you about, Seth? I can teach you more about the Cold War. I could teach you a bit more about World War II. I can teach you about Blitzkrieg and what it actually was. I can teach you about Vietnam, a little bit about Vietnam. Not much about World War I, besides how crazy trench warfare was. I can teach you all about that, about trench warfare. Not much about Afghanistan. I know a couple of the wars. You want me to teach you about any of the wars that I just named? Oh, I have a self-frozen. World War II, okay. What exactly, which part of it? D-Day? Or... nuclear racing, can you with that? So World War II... One after the next. Tanks. Okay, so that would be Blitzkrieg, which is a tank thing, and also actually, I just found three. So I have found two. Okay, so the Blitzkrieg. I'll teach you about Blitzkrieg because that involves tanks. So what that Blitzkrieg directly translates to, I believe, Rolling Thunder, because Blitzkrieg was an operation run by the Nazis where they had tanks and planes and a bunch of small infantry, riflemen. Then they just when they were going to Poland, they used Blitzkrieg. The strategy where they just straight up plow through anything in their path. They had big ass tanks, hundreds, thousands of troops running straight through a thick ass forest, easily, no problem whatsoever. They put tanks through a jungle, dude. Tanks through a freaking forest in a couple days. Like, it was a whole forest that they crossed in a couple days with tanks. That makes sense if it's a person, but with tanks, do you know how hard that would be? They didn't fly that shit over. No. Like, think about how insane that is. How unbelievably quick they would have to be. Like, that's insane. And they did that in a couple days. They crossed right through that forest, no problem. It was great. It's insane. Some forest in Poland that they thought would take them a lot longer than a couple days to go through, but they went through that shit in a couple. It's incredible how quick and how effective Blitzkrieg was. But they had tanks that they found ways to plow through the forest like it was nothing with their tanks. Not like just straight up running over trees. I understand tanks are super strong and tanky, but it's not gonna plow through a tree like that. But they found ways to go around it, and it's crazy. It's insane. I don't know all the details about it, but it's just amazing. Blitzkrieg is crazy. It's just unbelievable. D-Day. D-Day was, I'll teach you about Stalingrad. Stalingrad was named after Stalin. And Stalin, how he got into power in 1922. January, February. On May 4th, 1922 is when Stalin came into power. And he was like 55 or 53 at the time. He got into power when they were being voting people in and shit. And all of his opponents were somehow either coincidentally died or got arrested. Coincidentally. Flying tanks. Anyways, so Stalin, I keep wanting to say Papa Stalin. So Stalin, all of his opponents coincidentally all died or were arrested before they could get into power. So he was the only one. So obviously he got into power. And they named the place after him called Stalingrad, which today is renamed to St. Petrograd, I believe it's called. Something grad at the end, of course. But it's no longer called Stalingrad. If you look that shit up on maps, you'll find an old-ass map. You're not going to find a 2020 map that's got Stalingrad, because that's simply incorrect. There's no such thing as Stalingrad anymore. There was, but there isn't anymore because they realized how horrible he was. But Stalingrad, there were like, I think like some like 140,000 Russian soldiers died there. I think I have to Google that. How many died in Stalingrad? 250,000 German and Romanian corpses in and around Stalingrad. And total Axis casualties, German, Romanians, Italians, and Hungarians, are believed to have been more than 800,000 dead, wounded, missing, or captured. You know, St. Petrograd is a town, right? This all happened in a small town. Nearly 1 million people were killed, MIA, wounded, or captured. Within how long did the battle? How long did the Battle of Stalingrad last? I don't think it lasted. I think that was like a couple of days or like a week or something. Took place August, February. It was the largest battle of World War II with 1.1 million Soviet and 800,000 German casualties. How many Soviets died in Stalingrad? Okay. The battle lasted 5 months, a week, and 3 days. Imagine losing 1.1 million human beings within 5 months. That's like our school. Imagine 800,000 people died within 5 months, which is our school year. Think about how ridiculous that is. And this is all in a small town, by the way. Stalingrad is a town where 1 million people were killed. MIA, became POWs, or wounded. In 5 months, Seth. That is insane. You know how many of the Russians, I'm pretty sure the Russians lost something like 40 million. How many civilian and military casualties were there during World War II is considered the #1 most deadliest battle. 21 to 25 million, including deaths by captives of about civilian deaths totaled to 50 to 55 million people. Military deaths from all causes totaled to 21 to 25 million. So what's 55 plus 25? 5, 7, that's 80 million. And most of them, out of all the countries, a huge percentage of those deaths were all to the Soviets. You know, like, out of 80 million people died. That's civilian and the military. Think about how many Russians, I think they lost something like 40 million, didn't they? How many people, how many, oh, by the way, yeah, because there was a lot of war crimes committed by the Nazis, like, for example, Poland. The bombing of Dresden, I believe, was an incendiary bombing run done by the British on the and guess what? Dresden is in Britain, and there was a friendly incendiary bombing run. Incendiary bombing runs are not only a war crime, but it sets shit on fire. Obviously, it's incendiary, dude. Incendiary means fire. And they just bombed themselves. Some commander, I can't remember. Anyways, but like, there was a lot of war crimes committed. Like 6 million Jews died in concentration camps. concentration camps were literally just camps where they put civilians to work. They were not POW. They were not prisoners of war. They were not trained soldiers. These were civilians that they captured, often Jewish people, not soldiers, people. Soldiers were often just executed. These were just casual civilians. What did they do? Literally nothing. But yet, yet so many died. 6 million in concentration camps alone. That's crazy. In concentration camps where they just put people to work, gas them, separated them.
I'll let you know when the next one's available.
There's actually a Nazi. Just the way the glue is forever. So speaking of boobs, there was a Nazi doctor called Dr. I can't remember his name, Dr. something. But this doctor, he conducted scientific research on twins. Wait, no, fuck, what was it? I just had his name. Mangala, there you go, Dr. Mangala. They called all the twins that they found Mangala twins because Dr. Mangala, Joseph Mangala, I think, whatever, Dr. Mangala, a Nazi doctor, Nazi scientist. He conducted experiments on twins. Any twins of any kind, they would be captured and brought to a separate concentration camp. They were all often kids, but they would strip them naked all of them into a room, and some soldiers would come in, and they would literally measure every single body part imaginable. Like there was this one woman, I can't remember her name, Ava, I believe. Ava and her sister were both put in they were both twins, identical twins. Only identical twins, by the way. They can't possibly know immediately if you're like twins isn't born on the same day. By the way, there was also people at the concentration camp saying, say you're 15, you're 15, you're 15. Because if you were under 15, you'd be killed. Straight up. Oh, you're 14? Like, they don't give a fuck. If you're dead. If you are less than 15 years old, you will die. They will execute you. There's Nazi soldiers that felt bad. They were like, the Nazi soldier came up to like to all of the Jewish people at the concentration camp once they got off the cattle cars, which was like a train car. They said, you're 15. You are 15. You're 15. You're 15. He wanted to make sure that they understood that you had to say that you are 15, otherwise you will die. But man, like these two girls, he would measure the gaps between their privates, their everything, her boobs, vagina, everything. Literally every single thing was measured. Everything, and they would see if they were the same measurement. Like everything. Like I literally mean everything was measured. Everything, and they would compare it to the other twin. They would measure them both and then compare it to chart. They would inject them with. I can't remember what they would inject them with, but they would inject them with something. And what the fuck? They would inject them with things that they don't know even up to date. Up to this very day, they don't know what was in those injections, but they got Ava very sick. She almost died. No one was there to help her. She survived. Well, she's dead now, but due to old age. Anyways, Mangala, Joseph Mangala, I believe. All I know is that his last name is for sure Mangala. He just conducted tests on twins. What's it called? They were stripped from their families and like pulled away from their families. It's all dramatic and shit, but like actually, and you know, they're actually the World War II veterans and people that survived World War II incidents are starting to die out because they're like at this age they would be like, if you were born on the day World War II was like war was declared, which was September 1st, 1939, when the day Hitler invaded Poland. That's when the Second World War was considered to start. If you were born then to today, you'd be like 82. And to survive that, you'd have to be like 90 to 100 years old to have fought in the war. Like you'd have to be at least 92, or no, you have to be like at least 95 or 96, whatever, nearly 100 years old to have fought in the war. That is insane. Everyone else died out. And, you know, World War II was a shit show. It lasted, I think, like 6 years. It ended in 45. Started in 39, ended in 45. The main play. Oh, and Stalingrad changed the course of the war, because what happened was, wait, are you still there? Yeah. So what happened was, since World War II started, that was World War II because the British, they were protected. They didn't like that the Nazis were attacking neutral countries at all, because, you know, so Poland was completely a neutral country. They didn't fight back whatsoever. They just let those fuckers march right in. And the Nazis were taking over. They took over like 3 neutral countries, and 1 neutral country fought back, and they almost fucking won. But the other 2 didn't put up a lick of fight whatsoever. They just let them walk right through. Wait, Seth, are you still there? I might actually stop talking. I'm just gonna stop talking until I see like a yes or something in the chat, because I don't want to be. Actually, you can. Oh yeah, okay. Neutral countries, all shit, and France got in because of the British, and Austria-Hungary was Germany's ally, so they obviously took part in the war, and Japan got mixed up into the war because they wanted some land back. They wanted some land because they have little to no natural resources whatsoever, like no like oil or coal, nothing like that. They have little to zero natural resources in Japan, so they wanted to go take some land, so that way they can gain natural resources to then sell that shit and make even more money. So when they were wrapped up in the war, after Nazi Germany and Austria-Hungary both surrendered, Japan didn't surrender, and that's when, coincidentally, the Americans made nukes. Oh, I guess it's more delayed than usual. That's when the Americans started making nukes. They first tested it and it worked. So then they told Japan, they're like, hey guys, if you guys don't cut that shit out, we're gonna drop a nuke on you. They said, fuck you, try me. And they did, and they bombed Nagasaki or Hiroshima. And I actually have to make sure I'm getting my shit right, because I don't want to be feeding you false information. So Nagasaki died in Nagasaki. So Nagasaki, between, wait. So, and Hiroshima, which came first, wait, no. Okay, so between 90 and 146,000 people died in Hiroshima, and 39 to 80,000 people died in Nagasaki. Roughly half of the deaths in each city occurred on the first day. So died in Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Someone googled this as the same fucking town. So Hiroshima came first, Nagasaki came after. But the first nuke was dropped on what's it called? Hiroshima. The Japanese didn't give up after they saw hundreds of thousands of their own civilians die. They were like, fuck, try me, bitch. Try me again. And guess what the Americans did? They dropped a second nuke on them, on Nagasaki. And that's when they were like, alright, you win. And that's when they surrendered, and that is when World War II ended. And here's the reason why Hitler killed himself. Hitler killed himself because the Russians were closing in on his position, and he knew that if he let himself get captured, they would just torture the living shit out of him. And they would just torture him, like, horrific amounts of torture. They would just torture him and get as much information out of him as possible, and probably torture him to death. They wouldn't care. They would treat him. No, if they found a dirty ass rat that had rabies, they'd probably treat that thing better than Hitler. And Hitler knew that. So Hitler was like, fuck it, I'm not going down with these Russian scum to go in there and just sit there and torture me for days. So Hitler shot himself in his bunker because he was not gonna be captured and get interrogated by the Russians, because they were closing in on his position, and he knew that there was literally no chance of survival. He was not getting out of that alive. Well, his forces were not going to be able to fight off the whole Russian army at his front frickin' door within, like, talking distance. Well, yelling distance, same shit. You know that his army was not going to be able to get there or whatever to get his ass out of that situation. So he took his own life. He killed himself to what? Alright.
Multiple hostile spy planes detected.
Well, so I gotta go. I will probably do this shit again tomorrow sometime.
Multiple hostile spy
What time
planes
is it?
detected.
8:46. Okay. Bye. Hope you enjoyed me teaching you history. I'll do this.